the thing about Ten Hag, really, the more I watch them play, the more I see him. After the game on Tuesday, it's the flash interview. So I know it's not easy because you've just come off the pitch, you're disappointed, you finished fourth. Fourth in a group with Copenhagen and Galatasaray, it's a disgrace for a club like that. It's an absolute disgrace. And yet, what does he say? It was a very good performance. A very good performance, he said. That's his words. He said on TNT, that was a very good performance. One shot on target, you lost 1-0. You've won one game. Yeah. One game in a group like this, and it's a very good performance.
This is another area where I think he needs help with his messaging.
But
right?
we've said he's in denial. All season we've said it.
I don't know if he's in denial, right? I do know that when we in the media go and shove cameras in front of you, especially as you said, in a flash interview context, the way you come across really, really matters, right? Sometimes it's tough. Sometimes you want to be you want to be honest. You always want to be accountable if you're the manager. I think in every game. This is not what anybody wants to hear, that it was a good performance, right? Or at least you say that, look, we're super disappointed. We're out of here. We feel like we've let everybody down because we should have qualified from this group. I saw some positive things, but it doesn't matter because we're out of the group. And what matters is we want to build on them, and I want to show that against Liverpool. And we're going to work hard to show it against Liverpool.
His messages are wrong.
But something like that makes more sense than coming out and talking about a good performance when you have one shot on target.
He has taken progress for granted. Last season was a good season for United. Top 4, a trophy, the League Cup. I think he thought, everybody said this is the impossible job. Look, first season I arrived, Old Trafford was a fortress. Didn't they win they didn't lose for 34 games in a row at home or something like that? Right. Ridiculous. And I swear, if he would have felt like this second season, we're going to continue our progress, we're going to do this. He's been hit by injuries, to be fair, that it's not in his control to lose so many players. And again, Shaw and Maguire have time against Bayern Munich. But there's problems that he brought onto himself, like the Sancho argument, whatever is happening with Rashford, all of that. And you could argue that the way he's dealt with those issues have been wrong, calling out players publicly, banning journalists from press, all that kind of stuff. But I really think that he took the progress after the first season onto the second season for granted, thinking we're going to keep going up. And it hasn't happened like that. And I really think that at some point he's taken his eye off the ball. And what backs my point up is I think all those post-match press conference or interviews that we've debriefed all this season where he said, it's never his fault. Never his fault. And it's always a good performance. They lose at Arsenal. We played great. We deserve to win. No, you didn't. And loads of things like that.
I had lunch with somebody in football the other week, and he said, talking about United, he said, if you notice, since Sir Alex left, the vast majority of the players who have arrived do worse at United than they did when they were before. Yeah. And then when they leave, unless they're old, they do better somewhere else. And I thought about it, and look, this is a game you can play at home, United fans. I'm sure it's not true of everybody. I'm sure there's counter examples who, maybe they do well and then they stink at Old Trafford and they stink afterwards or whatever. But it does really speak to a certain kind of dysfunction. Now, if Ten Hag were with us, he would mention, and you mentioned this, but just to recap, because I think it is part of the conversation. Obviously, Lisandro Martinez has been out all season. Yeah. Lindelof was, again, you should say it's just Lindelof, but he would have played. Also out. Varane, you pull him back in after dropping him, which I think psychologically isn't the easiest thing to do. Obviously, you mentioned Maguire and Shaw, the injuries. No Casemiro, no Mason Mount.
Yeah, Malacia.
Okay, fine. Yeah, no Tyrell Malacia and Anthony Martial.
It's better than Reguilon at left back or better than Dalot at left back.
No, he's not. Malacia, no. I will take Dalot over Malacia any day of the week. No, sorry.
Definitely not.
All right, we'll just agree to disagree.
Yeah.
No Martial, who, as you know, I think is a waste of his shirt. But
do you know?
So these are his mitigating circumstances. But you still imagine in those conditions, even Bruno, right? Who I expect Bruno to be United's best or second best player every time he plays, more because of the people around him. You're suspended at the weekend. This is your shot. And, when you said one shot on target, I don't know how many shots he took in the game, but I expect more from him.
So, to his defense, and I agree with your point, he played deeper than Scott McTominay in this game. So again, and I don't want to go on and on about Ten Hag and his tactics, and we've destroyed him on this show many times before. But I go back to this point where you need to win this game. Who is your most creative player?
Bruno. Well, sorry. No, the most creative player is actually Antony, who I'm assuming if he were doing papier-mâché, paper dolls or something, would be much more impressive than Bruno. If you're talking as a footballer, it's Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah. So how come in a must-win game, again, I'm going to repeat it, Scott McTominay is the highest player on the page, certainly compared to Bruno Fernandes, behind Holland.
It's a good question. I picked up on that too. I didn't actually know that his average position was higher than Bruno Fernandes, but
most of the time. I don't know if it was in the end the heat map is, but
I think it had to do with the fact that McTominay scored a bunch of goals in recent months.
Position, that's not what he's good at, Gab.
No, hang on a second. And I'm not saying it was the right decision. I think, having been around football people for a very long time, and they don't like to admit it, and I'm not saying everyone is like that, they go by gut feel a lot. And they go maybe even a little bit, that's why many of them are superstitious, right? Superstition, gut feel, blah, blah, blah. They have a feeling about somebody. I mean, look, people at Harvard Business School will tell you that great, managers and CEOs are like this too. But he looks at it and he says, McTominay's gotten us out of so many jams. If he can do it. Again, I don't know, but you have a sense about this, right? I'm just wondering, this is what went through his mind.
I think it's way stupid. They press in a 4-4-2 with McTominay and Højlund. It was one against a team like Bayern who is not really press resistant. Let's be honest. Kimmich doesn't like it. Goretzka doesn't like it. Certainly, they don't
like it against Eintracht, against this United team. I mean, they're pressing with Antony and Garnacho.
But this was one of the worst press that I've seen against Bayern Munich this season. There's Bundesliga mid-table team like Heidenheim press better than what United did on Tuesday night. If you don't want to press, don't go. Don't go and press. Right. Just have a lower block or a medium block. And that's okay. It's fine. Even at home, it's fine. Don't try and have Højlund and McTominay up there when Upamecano, Kim, Mazraoui. I mean, it was embarrassing. It was really embarrassing.
I go back to the other thing just on Martial quickly, just because I cannot repeat this enough times. And I've said this about Chelsea. I'll say this about United as well. You cannot play a season when you're playing, especially in United's case, when you're playing European football, unlike Chelsea. You have to have 3 options at forward, especially in United's case, when one of them is a guy in an aspiring contract with poor fitness who, when he's fit, generally doesn't play well. That's Martial. Sorry. And the other one is a kid who's 20 years old who has
just arrived,
has 1 year's experience in a top 5 league. Then you could say, but Rashford. Okay, leaving aside the fact that then, clearly had a row with Rashford or whatever, but then Rashford should be at the start of the season, we thought was United's best or second best player, right?
Yeah.
The next option, the next solution can't be disrupting your best or second best player by moving him to center forward, right? We agree on that.
Yeah.
Right? So how they found themselves in this position continues to me to be a mystery. The lack of a sense that there's a value in having a body, a finisher, somebody who can press and run around. It can be somebody you bring in on loan. It can be Danny Ings,
Yeah.
Just to take the pressure off those games when you're 3-0 up. You take Højlund off, you rest them. Those times when somebody's getting kicked, whatever, right? It can be somebody like that, and that I think is on Ten Hag, because Ten Hag, he did the transfers.
Yeah.
Right. That's there's no hiding this, right?
No.
It's not like Murta said, "Ooh, let me buy Antony," even though Ten Hag doesn't want him. No, because we know he wanted him, and he got him. Right? That's what's really difficult to deal with. This is a manager who's basically was able to sign all the players that he wanted to sign.
Yeah.
He only chose a certain market.
Yeah.
And just for spits and giggles, the other rumor, a swap, Jadon Sancho for Daniel Malen.
Okay. Woo.
Again, this seems like another freaking joke to me where he only signs players who he's seen on TV or, well, he watches Champions League finals, right? So he's seen Casemiro, he's seen Onana, obviously.
Or players who are Dutch,
Or he watched Chelsea last year, so he gets Mount. And then a bunch of, they tell him Johnny Evans used to play here, all right, And then the rest, everybody else is an Eredivisie alumnus. Everybody.
I refuse to believe that is actually possible to happen.
I'm assuming it would make United better because you would lose a guy who doesn't play for a guy who at least plays.
Yeah, comes on in the second half for Dortmund against PSG on Wednesday night. I don't know. I mean, defensively also, for all the flaws going forward, like you just mentioned rightly, Gabby, they conceded, I think, 14 or 15 goals in this group stage, the more that any English team has ever conceded. It's
15.
Just 15 is just an embarrassment, absolutely.
Right.
And I don't know. He's been a disastrous campaign, for sure. It's not the first time. United back in 05-06 under Fergie, they also finished bottom of their group that year. And then not long after, they won the Champions League. So this is not the end. But when you're in this position, when the money of qualifying for the last 16 of your Champions League, for maybe going another round to the quarters, anything like that, even maybe going to the Europa League, would have been welcome at a club that is not as rich as, is earning money a lot, but doesn't have the power financially that it used to, maybe.
Well, they made big losses in the last 2 years, which they'd never done before. And I think the other key difference with 04-05, back then your competition were Chelsea and Arsenal were starting to fade a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Now it's Liverpool, it's City. I mean, Chelsea aren't good, but they're still there spending a ton of money. Newcastle, we've seen what they did last season. Spurs, Villa are in the top four. I mean, it is a lot tighter that way. There's better resourced opponents, and I don't think you can take for granted that you're going to qualify top four every year.
No.
I think that's a big difference. Final word on Bayern.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you see Tuchel's beard after
the
game? Did you see Tuchel's beard?
Yeah.
What? I mean, he's aged a lot. I won't lie. We're big fans, but I think he's aged a lot in the last few weeks.
I think actually the big change in Tuchel was actually when he went to when he was at Paris Saint-Germain.
He was still handsome in Paris. He was so glamorous, so elegant.
He looked like a stick figure. He looked like a praying mantis.
The City rubbed on him. It's at Chelsea. At Chelsea, you destroyed him.
At Chelsea, obviously, he had his meltdown, and now this. Yeah, but I'm just wondering. We disagree on whether it was right to play the starters or not. I understand why he did it. I wouldn't have done it. But did you learn anything going into the Stuttgart game?
No, but we were never going to. I think B team, A team, doesn't matter so much.
So was this some kind of challenge to his players, or
no? But I think this is a squad very talented. That right now he's not getting the best out at all. Far from it. I think they've got a few gears up that they can go to. I think the winter break for them is going to be good, regardless of how they finish just before it against Stuttgart. But I expect them, comes February, March, they might sign a couple of players in January. I think they will. They're in the market for to be better, and I think they will be a big threat going forward in this competition. And I think they can win it.
I don't know. I just feel.
Well, are you disappointed by what you saw? But not just on Tuesday. Because Tuesdays they played.
No, I didn't learn anything from this game as far as Bayern.
You were never going to.
But that's why, I actually wondered what if you gave these other people a bit of a chance, because everybody knows the circumstances. It's just that. I think the assessment will be against Stuttgart when they come to town. Let's see what they can do against your boy Serhou Guirassy.
Yes, of course.